Today, we're delving into a game that served as an introduction to RPGs for many players, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest for the Super Nintendo. Released in 1992, this game was designed as a gateway to the world of RPGs. Let's explore this often overlooked but significant chapter in the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was developed by Square, now Square Enix, as a simplified RPG aimed at attracting a broader audience, particularly in the West. The development team recognized that RPGs were less popular in the Western market compared to Japan, and Mystic Quest was their answer to this challenge. The game was designed to be more accessible than traditional RPGs. It featured simplified game mechanics, such as removing the need for random encounters and making navigation easier. These design choices were meant to appeal to players who might find typical RPGs too complex or daunting. Graphically, Mystic Quest utilized the Super Nintendo's capabilities to create colorful, engaging visuals. Although not as advanced as other titles in the series, the game still presented a charming and inviting world for players to explore. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest stands as an experiment in RPG design. It was an attempt to bridge the gap between novice and experienced players, showcasing Square's willingness to innovate and adapt to different gaming audiences. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was released in North America in October 1992 and later in Europe and Japan. This release period was significant as it was during the early years of the Super Nintendo, a time when the console was still establishing its RPG lineup. The game's release was part of Square's strategy to introduce the RPG genre to a wider audience in the West. At that time, RPGs were a niche market outside of Japan, and Mystic Quest was seen as an accessible entry point for new players. The timing of its release, positioned between major Final Fantasy titles, allowed it to stand out as a more approachable alternative for those new to the genre. It played a role in increasing the visibility and popularity of RPGs in Western markets. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest streamlined traditional RPG elements to create a more accessible experience. The game featured turn-based combat but simplified it by limiting party members and removing some of the more complex mechanics found in other RPGs. Random encounters were replaced with visible enemies on the map, allowing players to choose when to engage in battle. This change made the game more approachable for newcomers, reducing the often overwhelming aspect of unexpected fights. The game also introduced elements like jumping and using tools in the overworld, adding a layer of interaction with the environment. These features, while simple, added variety to the gameplay and made exploration more engaging. Dungeon design in Mystic Quest was straightforward but enjoyable, with puzzles and treasures that were easy to navigate but satisfying to complete. The game's focus on simplicity did not take away from the fun and adventure that RPGs offer. Overall, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest provided a balanced and enjoyable experience, making it a suitable introduction to the genre for new players while still offering enough depth to keep seasoned RPG fans engaged. The story of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest follows a young hero named Benjamin, who is tasked with saving the world from the Dark King. The narrative is straightforward and classic in its approach, featuring elemental crystals, powerful enemies, and a quest to restore balance to the world. While the story is simpler and less complex than other Final Fantasy titles, it serves its purpose well, providing a clear and engaging narrative for players to follow. The characters, including Benjamin's various companions, are likable and add to the game's charm. The game's narrative is easy to follow, making it accessible to those who may not be familiar with intricate RPG plots. This simplicity makes Mystic Quest an ideal starting point for players new to the genre. Despite its straightforward approach, the story of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is filled with the adventure and fantasy elements that fans of the series love, making it a fun and enjoyable journey from start to finish. The soundtrack of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, composed by Ryuji Sasai and Yasuhiro Kawakami, is a noteworthy aspect of the game. The music captures the adventurous spirit of the game, with catchy and memorable tunes accompanying the player's journey. Each track, from the lively battle themes to the more serene town melodies, is crafted to enhance the game's various settings and moments. The soundtrack adds an extra layer of enjoyment to the gameplay, making the experience more immersive and enjoyable. The sound effects in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest are well executed, with each action in battle and interaction in the world having a distinct and satisfying sound. These effects contribute to the game's atmosphere, making the battles more exciting and the exploration more engaging. Overall, the sound and music in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest play a significant role in defining the game's character. They provide an auditory backdrop that is both captivating and integral to the adventure. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest played a unique role in the history of RPGs. It was one of the first attempts to tailor a Japanese RPG for a Western audience, marking a significant moment in the globalization of the genre. The game's simplified mechanics and accessible gameplay helped introduce the RPG genre to a broader audience in the West. It served as a gateway for many players, leading them to explore more complex RPGs in the future. In the retro gaming community, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest is often remembered as a stepping stone into the world of RPGs. It holds a special place for those who started their RPG journey with it, remembered fondly for its approachability and charm. The game also contributed to the conversation about game design, demonstrating that simplifying certain elements can make a genre more accessible without sacrificing its core appeal. Mystic Quest's legacy lies in its role as an ambassador of the RPG genre, bridging the gap between different gaming cultures. For many, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest evokes nostalgia for a time when RPGs were a new and exciting exploration. The game's colorful graphics, straightforward gameplay, and memorable soundtrack remind players of their early experiences with the genre. The simplicity of the game, with its clear objectives and easy-to-navigate world, brings back memories of learning the basics of RPGs. For those who played Mystic Quest in their youth, it represents a time of discovery and the joy of embarking on virtual adventures. The game's cartridge format and the physical interaction with the Super Nintendo console add to its nostalgic charm. The ritual of inserting the cartridge and settling in for a gaming session is a fond memory for many retro gamers. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest's position as an introductory RPG also makes it a nostalgic piece for players who have since delved deeper into the genre. It serves as a reminder of where their RPG journey began. Despite its age, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest remains a playable and enjoyable game, especially for those new to RPGs or looking for a simpler RPG experience. Its straightforward mechanics and clear objectives make it an accessible title for modern gamers. The game's combat system, while simpler than other RPGs, still offers enough strategy and variety to be engaging. The clear and concise story is easy to follow, making it a relaxing and enjoyable experience. For fans of the Final Fantasy series and retro gaming enthusiasts, Mystic Quest is a worthwhile play. It offers a glimpse into the early efforts of adapting RPGs for a broader audience and stands as a charming and enjoyable experience in its own right. The game's availability on various modern platforms ensures that it continues to be accessible to a new generation of gamers. This accessibility, combined with its enduring appeal, guarantees that Final Fantasy Mystic Quest continues to be a beloved title for both newcomers and veterans of the genre. And there you have it, our journey through Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. This game may not have the complexity of other titles in the series, but its charm, accessibility, and role in RPG history make it a memorable and important title. Whether you're revisiting this classic or experiencing it for the first time, Mystic Quest offers a delightful adventure into the world of RPGs. Share your thoughts and memories of this game in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Join us next time for another adventure into the world of retro gaming.